Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and I saw Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Fowl and it was delightful. I was really looking forward to this movie. I am a big fan of Wallace and Gromit. They're just so charming and delightful, and I've been a fan of their shorts and of course their movie The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and I was definitely looking forward to this, seeing as this was a follow-up to one of my favorite shorts from them, The Wrong Trousers, but also a bit skeptical since while I didn't see this film, I didn't hear too many good things about the sequel to Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, so I was worried that that might have carried over to Wallace and Gromit. But I'm happy to report that that didn't happen, as this was another charming, delightful, and wonderful time with the Aardman duo. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Starting with my positives for the film, the animation is stunning. Aardman is truly a master of their craft when it comes to stop motion animation. This is the best that I think Wallace and Gromit have looked in years, and they've already looked stunning before this. You can really tell a lot of attention and hard work really went to the animation here, from the designs to the action set pieces to a lot of the visual gags here, so much so that you can even see the fingerprints and all the specific details and markings on certain characters in certain shots, which is a lovely touch, I must say, given to the animators here. What's also fantastic is that it's able to take the two titular characters, Gromit and Feathers McGraw, who show barely any facial expressions and don't even say a word of dialogue in this movie, and they're able to convey so much emotion, and you can tell everything they're feeling and how they are reacting to certain scenarios. Despite that, they are truly some of the best designed and best animated characters ever put on to the screen, just for that alone, and you got to commend the animators for doing that in and of itself. I also found the story to be really entertaining. Simple but entertaining. It's basically a follow-up to The Wrong Trousers, pretty much starting where it's pretty much left off, where that short film ended, and I thought it was able to do that very well. It never felt like any sequelitis was happening. It never felt like okay, this is a forced sequel. Someone had a good idea for a short, but we need to turn it into a movie. Everything works out well. It really tests the friendship between Wallace and Gromit, and the return of Feathers McGraw, though a bit limited, I will say. He's not in it as much as I thought he would be. I'll talk a bit more about that near the end of the video, but the way they were able to turn that short into not only a sequel but a feature-length movie was really well done, and I like where it leads to. I think it leads to some really sweet and touching moments between Wallace and Gromit, and of course a lot of great gags in here. This movie is very, very funny. It's got that titular Aardman style of humor. It's very quirky, very sight gag and visual based, but it all works out well here. It leads to some very funny, very amusing slapstick wordplay and just visual gags all around here. It's just very, very funny and charming. I also liked a lot of the characters in this movie. Obviously, Wallace and Gromit are still the lovable duo here. Like I said, it tests the friendship between the two of them, and it leads to some of the more emotional moments as Wallace is framed for a crime he didn't commit, and Gromit is up to the task to try to solve the mystery, and you really tell how much these two care and love each other in this movie. And of course, Feathers McGraw is a delightful villain here. Once again, he doesn't say a word. He barely even has any facial expressions, but he's such a delightful villain because he's just this little penguin, and yet he's so evil and menacing, and he's doing all of these dastardly deeds. It's so amusing to watch such a simple character be this evil. And then there are the various garden gnomes in this movie that I thought at first were gonna get a bit annoying. When they first started talking, I was like, ugh, this character, his voice might be a bit grating, but and a lot of the rest of the gnomes were able to be really funny, and they had a lot more stuff to do in this movie than I thought they would. And it also leads to a good commentary on AI and the dangers of letting technology do the most in your life, and I thought it was handled very well in that titular Aardman style. And overall, there's just a lot to like about this movie, but not everything is perfect. I do have a couple issues. I wasn't a big fan of the cop subplot. It was still funny and charming, but I felt it may have taken up a bit too much of the film, and I get the reason why it's there, but me personally, it was the weakest part of the film, in my opinion. It's basically every, cop training a new recruit to solve the mystery of the golden diamond or whatever, and I was far more interested in the stuff with Wallace and Gromit and Feathers McGraw. It wasn't bad or anything, and I wasn't dreading any time it was back on screen, but I definitely felt a bit more interest with the A plot with Wallace and Gromit and the villain of the film, as opposed to the stuff going on with the cops. And like I said earlier, Feathers McGraw isn't in this movie as much as I thought he would be. There's a good chunk in the middle of the movie where he's not in it, and by the time he comes back, you remember, oh yeah, you're this is a movie about you. You're the main antagonist of this movie, and so I feel like they could have done a better job making him feel a bit more integral to the story, or at the very least, built up to make him, more prominent in the movie, especially during this chunk, so he doesn't feel as absent as he did during that portion of the film. And of course, there's some gags and jokes here that don't really land. A couple of childish and even, dare I say, safe jokes here and there that weren't as funny as some of the much better laugh out loud moments in this film. But other than those flaws, this movie is simply delightful. If you're a fan of just Aardman in general or Wallace and Gromit, this is definitely a high recommendation for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's Wallace and Gromit at their best. A lot of great gags, a lot of beautiful animation, a really solid story, and just a swell movie in general. If you're in the need for a good laugh and you want something simple yet delightful, definitely go watch this on Netflix. I highly recommend it. Already one of my favorite films of the year so far, even though it is like the only movie I've seen this year so far. Definitely watch it, especially if you're a Wallace and Gromit fan. And those are my thoughts on Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Fowl. What did you all think of it if you've seen it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links at the end of the video. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.
We're gonna search for underpants.